Welcome to the WealthAbility Show, where we're always discovering how to make way more money and pay way less taxes. Hi, this is Tom Wheelwright, your host, founder, and CEO of WealthAbility. So we are in a hot real estate market. Most of us remember 2006 and 7, and that hot real estate market. This feels at least as hot, maybe even hotter, due to the low interest rates. And we have the question. The question is, are we so hot we're gonna bust? What's going to happen with evictions? What's going to happen with pandemic? Are we going to continue to have this evictions keep going out and out? What's going to happen with the rental market? Are we going to raise interest rates? All of these are questions, and I'm fortunate to have my good friend, Dave Steele.
Yeah, I've been in the multifamily real estate business for about 30 years. And about 7 years ago, partnered up with Janet LePage, who's a brilliant 40-year-old computer scientist, female, just a rock star of an entrepreneur. And she came to me with the idea of, hey, we should buy these apartment buildings. And I thought to myself, there's no return on apartment buildings. They don't make any money. We had been buying foreclosed houses on the courtyard steps. And she said, well, just take a look at this one deal. We looked at this one deal and I went, wow, this is amazing. And that was the first deal we did. And we've since done 102 deals in the last 7 years. Dallas, Phoenix, Houston, San Antonio, and Atlanta.
First of all, what's the impact that the Fed and the interest rates have on the multifamily business?
What you're really looking at is for easy math, there's a classic unit that you can rent as a 2-bedroom that's $1,000, $1,100, $1,200. So, and if you walked in that market today and you said, hey, I'm in Phoenix and I want to send my kid to school, to university, there's a pretty good chance you would not rent that classic unit for your kid. You'd look at it and you'd go, this just isn't nice enough to send my daughter to university, right? But if you renovate that suite and you put in stainless steel appliances and hardwood floors and redo the bathrooms and you renovate that suite and you put in a washer dryer, now you look and you say that 2-bedroom suite, would I pay $1,400? There isn't price resistance on the renovated suites. So the new stuff that's coming online is coming online at $2,100, $2,200, some of it as high as $2,500. So there's still this huge gap between what it's costing for brand new construction.
What we learned during the pandemic is that people are comfortable living even someplace where they don't work, right? So, and they don't want to be on the coast because the taxes are so high. The rate, there's so many problems on the coast. Now you've got so many people moving to the middle of the country, and they're not just buying homes. Presumably, some of those people are renting. We've got interest rates at historic lows. I mean, I was looking at a 15-year conforming loan, $560,000 loan is 2.5%. So what happens with interest rates? Because as we know, a lot of our listeners, they're pretty sophisticated real estate investors. And you know that the most important number when it comes to investment real estate is cap rate, right? Because if your cap rate goes down, then your value goes up. If your cap rate goes up, your value goes down. It's a very specific and very direct formula, basically. So if people, if interest rates go up, obviously cap rates go up because people are expecting a higher return. How do you see the Fed? What do you see from the Fed? I mean, do you think interest rates can continue to come down? You think they'll go down to, from 3% to 2% to 1%, or do you think they'll start going back up because we've got this 5%, which is actually in the grocery store, 30% inflation?
I mean, do they go up 0.25%? Do they go up 0.5%? I think that's a possibility. Do I think they go up 1 or 1.5%? No, I don't see anything in the future that shows that huge pop in interest rates. But I do think there is some risk. Sure, there's some risk that they're going to go up because we're having inflation. But we're having inflation because in the old days we said, wow, we got a $40 increase in our rental rate, and now we're getting a $200 rent increase on our rents. So we're getting a $200 rent increase. The cost of the utilities which is going up, but that's being borne by the tenant, right? So you're seeing these increases. So there's certainly some room down the road in the deals. But this gap, this growth of what you can get right now in renovating a suite on the value add side, I've been doing this for 30 years. This is the golden days of our business right now.
So what about these evictions though? So we've got these eviction order. I actually am not convinced that the administration isn't going to win this, because even though Justice Kavanaugh said that it was illegal, he still sided with the rest of them. They have a majority opinion saying it was legal, that it was okay. So what happens? Do these evictions go on forever? And then that's question number one. And question number two is, what happens when they stop? When that eviction order stops, are you guys going to evict a whole bunch of people, or do you think there's really are we going to have a whole bunch of homeless people? What are we going to have?
It's a crazy circle. So the circle is you have tenants that haven't paid, and a lot of them aren't that educated on the process. And in another world, in another building, you have funds that are available that all they have to do is go and fill in an application. And if they fill in an application with one of the relief agencies, that relief agency will give them the money to pay all of their past rent. So we have full-time people knocking on doors, going to the people who are 3 months, 6 months, 9 months behind. And by the way, the number's fairly low because we've done such a good job knocking on the doors. But if you think about it, the only people that aren't paying their rent are the ones that are too scared to answer the door to let us help them fill in the forms. If we can knock on their door, get them to fill in the forms, get the rent relief money, they're all paid up in full. But some of them, they're just uneducated, they're scared. So what they do is they just think, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my home, I'm going to lose my home. And they don't pay, and they don't pay until one day they skip out in the middle of the night, right? Because eventually the stress of it, unfortunately, the stress of it is really bad. So, what we found is, as much as it's a eviction, and don't get me wrong, there are clearly people that are out there that are flat out cheating the system. And, to me, I put those people are in a different pot, and you just treat those as whatever the law allows you to do. But there's clearly, I believe we have a very empathetic approach to running our business and treating our residents the way, residents should be treated. And so part of that process is just, how do we take our on-site leasing team and really help them facilitate? And we have literally got a couple of $1 million of rent relief has come in across all our different properties to bring a significant portion of what would have been bad debt up to date. So it's this very clunky system.
So you don't see a big fallout once this eviction moratorium ends.
We're clearly more nervous on some properties than others, but as a general rule, I would say I don't see a big fallout.
You do have that concern about interest rates. I mean, I don't know how you not have that concern about interest rates being at an all-time low. So that pushes prices to an all-time high. So do you invest for cash flow? Do you invest for capital gain? What do you do there? How do you minimize that risk?
We're targeting 20%, 18%, 16 to 20+% returns. And we've clearly exceeded, our average annual returns on the last 32 properties that we've sold. Our investors have hit 30% plus annual returns. So, we're targeting that. We're also targeting a growth that at the end of the second year, we can refinance and the investors can pull back 50% of their money. And by the end of the fourth year, refinance and pull back 100% of their equity and still own the building. So, if they're getting all their equity back, they're much less concerned about what that annual distribution is going to be year one and year two. Returning the capital quickly, having a model that's got a clear, defined plan. And, the biggest thing for me is, what do you do in any market where you want to reduce your risk? for me, the risk reduction is go into the deal and look at it and really understand, do you believe that the value creation is there without just, wow, I'm picking a good market and it's going to go up 8% this year?
Final question. What do you say to those people, and there's a lot of them, I heard it yesterday, that say we are in a bubble and this bubble is going to burst at some point? What do you say to those people?
I can only imagine what they've said about the bubble in Seattle and the rental and the price of rental housing in and around Seattle, and the price that old apartments have gone to and continue to go to. But, you know, if Microsoft and the big companies around Seattle keep adding and adding and adding and adding the jobs, you know, is there really an end in sight for how many more rental units they're going to build? And I would say this, so I'd say the same thing. You know, you look at these job magnet cities right now. You look at Dallas, you look at Phoenix. These are just job magnet cities, and so the question is, you know, I watch the front end, and the front end is these companies just keep announcing, we're adding this new facility and this many jobs, this new facility and this many jobs. And it's sort of like, well, where are all those people going to live? And most of them are not coming there to buy, they're coming there to rent. And there's not nearly enough new rental stock being built.
With that, thank you, Dave Steele, Western Wealth. If people want to get a hold of you somehow, what's the easiest way for them to contact you?
They can connect with Tim McCleary out of our office, 778-238-3553, Tim at westernwealthcapital.com. And many of you know us through Buck Joffrey at Wealth Formula, who's our partner in all of these deals as well. So you can connect directly in with Buck and Wealth Formula. When
Dave talks about their strategy, they're very, very specific, and they're very good at doing one thing, and they only do one thing, because when you do that and you do it in a place where the government wants you to do it, which is, you know, in Dave's case, this is real estate, but we can do it in energy, we can do it in business, we can do it in other places. Just remember, what you're always going to end up with is way more money and way less tax. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to the WealthAbility Show with Tom Wheelwright. Way more money, way less taxes. To learn more, go to wealthability.com.